This is an Empty Closet Radio podcast. Get more at facebook.com/emptyclosetradio.
So kept.
Stop laughing at me. It's not even funny.
Yes, it is.
Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sam.
And this is The Empty Closet.
The show for everyone, whether you're in the closet
Or out and proud.
or somewhere in between.
On 101.9 Coast FM, you're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Sam, we are going to talk all about straight sex. I know, ridiculous. On this show, straight sex.
We're also going to introduce you to the term democracy sausage. And
Yeah, I didn't even know that was like word of the year in 2016, and I still don't understand what it means, so we're all going to learn.
And we are also going to talk, some updates on our non-favourite, non-binding postal survey, and talk a bit about a movie you may have, a documentary you may have never seen, and its follow-up called Gaby Baby, which I just think is the cutest name. Now, look, if you do want to catch up on any past episodes, you can check out our podcast. Just search for Empty Closet Radio, hit the subscribe button, or you can find us on social media. So we have the Big Blue Book of Faces page, Empty Closet Radio, hit the like button, or you can follow us on the Blue Tweety Bird at emptycloset_AU, all lowercase.
You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
Baby, baby, I know. Baby, I love you so.
Empty Closet Radio. Listen to us using your TuneIn radio app on your smartphone. Very smart.
101.9 Coast FM. You're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Now, Sam, one of the things that has been brought up time and time again is think of the children when we're thinking about allowing same-sex couples to marry. Or same-gendered couples to marry, I should probably say. And, there's that old movie, like, Maybe Baby, where, like, people are trying to get pregnant, and it's all about, like, that whole process of, like, it can be really hard for some people. There was a film made called Gaby Baby, which is about gay couples going through that same process about trying to have a child.
Not quite. They've already had the children. Okay, so Gaby Baby is a documentary. It's not a fictional narrative, and it basically observed the lives of 4 children whose parents are either gay or lesbian, and kind of explored the ways that growing up as a Gaby had affected them. And what they really found was that, the negatives that the kids suffered were because other people were bullying them rather than because, nobody knew how to change a light bulb or some really sexist complaint.
Yeah, like no one knew how to clean the toilet because, there's 2 of the same gender in the house.
Yeah, nobody knows how to use anything but barbecue tongs in the kitchen or whatever.
Clearly you get a cleaner to do that shit.
Clearly. Now, it was quite well received, critically, but what I found really interesting is that, 2 of the kids are now teenagers, and they've actually got involved in an interview about the next generation of Gabies. And they have talked about on air what it's like to have the whole country talking for them. Think of the children of the gay couples, gay couples can't raise kids, blah, blah.
And there's gay couple babies, like, sitting around being like, no one's asking us, hey, why don't you talk to me? Talk to me. So what have they had to say?
So I will directly quote you from Pippi. So it's very unique. Some people don't even have mums or dads. Some people are homeless and they don't have any mums, they don't have any dads. That's why I think it's really special that I have more than one mum and dad.
Aww. And so is their situation that they have like 2 mums or 2 dads, or is it like where, there's 2 mums plus a dad or 2 dads plus a mum?
I'm not actually certain.
I went to see, so just while we're talking about like gay families, one of my favorite ideas for a gay family was I met this couple once, like a gay couple, and they lived next door, well, kind of like over the back fence from a lesbian couple, and they had what they referred to as free range children, And so they were like, I mean, the couples were best friends as well, and they all raised kids like between the two of them, and so they all helped each other out. It was amazing.
Yeah, I really like that kind of community-minded child rearing, I guess.
Yeah, my hippie, like, let's go live on a convent side comes out when I hear stories like that.
I didn't know you had a hippie convent side.
I know, it's hard to see.
Now, some of the comments that did come up were things like, I saw in the sky there was someone who wrote 2 times in the sky, vote no. And that just made me feel sad that people are letting this happen and that people don't want people to have love. You know, like it's basically it's almost like an advert, this new thing. It's the kids going, you should vote for love. You should vote to support us and show everybody that it's all about inclusion.
But I wonder for these couples that have had children, whether, because they've already done like the family thing, whether having marriage legalized in Australia is going to make a really big difference to their relationship.
Well, I mean, we only have the public voices really, to go on that, but they've all said yes, it will, because making it that it's not legal, making it means that relationship is less valid. And that knocks on to kids, and kids believe that because their parents say it, or they want to be cruel or whatever. And, you know, the children of these couples, in the same way that children of, say, teenage mums, you know, or some single parents, or, you know, whatever, will be bullied for their parents' occupation. These kids are bullied because their parents are not heterosexual or are not in a heterosexual relationship or whatever. And it invalidates their existence. You know, all the big backing research says that the only negatives to having same-sex couples having children is that the social stigma surrounding them is the negative. It's not that the relationship impacts their children in a negative way. It's that the people around that bully them for it.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can see that happening. It was probably much the same, like, you know, when single parent families started having kids go to school, and like it'd be like, oh, you've only got one mum, where's your dad, kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. And, well, you know, the thing is, it can get to violence, really. People, you know, kids get bashed because their families don't fit in.
But I think over time we see that attitude changes, and that discrimination slowly slips away.
Yeah, I think that it's a work in progress, but we're getting there. You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Empty Closet Radio. Like us on Facebook. Coast FM, you're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. And Andrew, I sent you a link you particularly enjoyed this week.
Oh my God. It was like my favorite thing that I read all week. And the title is, So How Does Straight Sex Work?
So for some context here, on Reddit online, there's there's threads in a subsection called Ask Gay Bros, you know, and,
I feel like that subreddit is like full of double entendre, ask gay bros, and inappropriate questions, I'm sure.
No, well, apparently it's normally endearing and earnest and kind of people talking about their experiences really, really honestly. But, one user kind of prompted, how does straight sex work? I mean, who's the guy and who's the other guy?
I know, that's what I've always wondered. Who is the other guy?
You know, but women don't even have a G-spot in their arse like men do. It's a perversion of nature. So, I mean, look, some of the responses I did have a flick through. They are very, cis-sexist, or, you know, transphobic, like, but Andrew's making a face at me like, Sam, don't ruin this for me. Don't you worry that heterosexuals are influencing children to be straight like them? Think of the children. Do you know how many straight people put kids they make up for adoption? Nearly 100% of all kids for adoption are from straight couples. Worse yet, it's a similar figure for abortions. You think right-wingers hate gays? Makes you think.
You know what my favorite quote of the whole article was? I think, so talking about straight relationships, I think the woman is the bottom in the bedroom, but the man is the bottom elsewhere. As much as I hate the fact that that's a little bit bottom shaming, it did make me laugh a lot.
I know. I enjoyed it. And then I did like the response to, you know, people, don't be so melodramatic. Don't be shaming straight couples. I was actually raised by a straight couple and I still grew up perfectly fine. I've yet to see any evidence that it's harmful. I think straight couples can usually be almost as good a role models as gays.
Exactly. It's amazing. As a child of straight heterosexual Sam, I've seen how miserable marriage makes people up close. Oh dear.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Oh dear. I shouldn't. Look, people should be able to choose whether they enter into that themselves or not, though.
Yeah, no, look, I enjoy things like this, or when you get the videos where people go, you know, how did you decide you were straight? You know.
I saw this fabulous one the other day where they went to like a resort and they're like in the elevator going up to their room and they're like, you must be the fun straight couple at this resort. We heard about you. How often has that happened? Like seriously, how often has that happened to you?
Yeah, I know. Or the thing where, you know, I have a straight friend I could introduce you to.
Yeah, we're not like Lego bricks. Like you don't just find like two random ones and they click together.
Yeah, so I really enjoy content that takes the given script, the accepted script, and flips it, you know, and makes it really obvious just how ridiculous things are. Because like I've heard a lot of, and unfortunately it's usually men, straight people, but usually straight men, asking lesbians particularly, you know, who's the guy in the relationship? No, there has to be a guy in the relationship. And they won't believe them when they say that there's not a man in the relationship.
Well, yeah, and conversely, I feel like sometimes lots of people want to know, like, who's the girl in a gay relationship, like gay men? And there's like this assumption that like just because you might enjoy bottoming, that suddenly makes you the girl in the relationship. And I'm like, what about this? If we had relationships where people were actually just two equals and there was not like, you're this role and you're this role, and people just do what needs to be done.
I still think that Ellen DeGeneres said it pretty well. She said, when you ask two women who's the man, it's like asking which chopstick is the fork. You know, it's not the same. You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
Ooh, come a little bit closer. Come and get a little piece of mine, yeah. Let me take over.
Empty Closet Radio, because no one else wants to be stuck in the closet. God.
Is that for me?
101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. And before the show, we were having a little bit of a look at new words for the dictionary. And it turns out that Andrew is not familiar with a very, very, very Australian term that I thought everyone was familiar with.
Well, I had no idea. So I was reading about the new words that just got added to the dictionary, which is like real news. And then it came up and said that last year's word of the year, firstly, who knew that there was a word of the year? Secondly, I had never heard of democracy sausage. Thirdly, democracy sausage is technically two words. How is that in the dictionary as one?
Because dictionaries also include phrases that have a set meaning. You know, but for those of you out there who may be like Andrew and not understand, you know, when you go to the big green hardware store and they have a sausage sizzle out the front, or you go to a car wash or whatever, and there's always a sausage sizzle, and it's usually a fundraiser, you know, for one of the local community or charity groups.
Yeah, so it's like it's a sausage sizzle to raise money.
Yeah, so it's considered un-Australian to charge more than $2 really for a sausage, but sometimes you can charge for fancy extras or if they're fancy sausages.
I have seen people charging like $3.50 for a sausage before.
And that is un-Australian.
I can't really remember where it was. Maybe.
Now, the original rules I learnt for the sausage sizzle was that it is quite acceptable to have halal or kosher sausages or to have vegetarian sausages because the right to access the sausage sizzle is the right of all Australians. But sometimes you have a special sausage sizzle, Andrew.
My mind is going to like probably the wrong place. Where are you going with this?
Not where you're thinking. So on election day, you know, the Saturday morning, there's always the lions out the front with the sausage sizzle.
My special sausage sizzle I was thinking of is certainly not related to elections.
No, as much as the current government tries to make it so.
Yeah, it's not. It's more related to like surveys.
Now, so you have the sausage sizzle out at every voting venue, and when you come out, your reward is to give $2 to the local Lions Club, and it's usually the Lions doing it, and you get your sausage, you get your choice of 3 sauces or whatever, it's sometimes more sauces, and that's the democracy sausage. So it's the sausage you get for voting. It's the sausage that is the celebration for getting through that queue and putting it behind you.
So that's like one of last year's words. In fact, it's like, you know, the word of the year, apparently. What kind of words do you think were added this year?
Truther would be my big one, because now we live in a post-truth society.
But I have some alternative facts for you, Sam.
The look on your face makes me distressed. Just not related to words.
I think the dictionary has a definition for the word fact, and alternative facts is pretty much non-existent.
Maybe that's going to be the word of the year this year. Actually, no. One of the dictionaries, their word of the year this year, or at the end of last year, was post-truth. Because we live in a post-truth society. Because in reality, that's basically what's happened at most of the recent elections, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, we have some other fun ones that are to do with politics, just because you know that I love politics. So we've got the captain's pick. Thanks, Tony. Thanks for that word, Tony.
We just don't have enough. Clearly, we don't have enough from Mr. Abbott.
He goes around like just making these words, doesn't he? There's some other fun ones like humble brag. You mentioned truther was added. There's quite a few others. I'm just having a look to see like there's, you know, these are the new words. There's a few to do with technology. So the dark web, which we know, and Insta is now a proper word in the dictionary. It's not just a brand.
Actually, one that I thought would have been added earlier is photobomb. I was quite surprised to hear that that's a new entry to the dictionary.
Well, and the other word that's been added this year is hacktivist. And I've been using the word hacktivist for years.
And that's how language develops, dear, and then it becomes official. Fat shaming was one that came through. Whatevs.
There's one that's been added to, like, this is possibly the most Australian one that's been added. It is kangatarian. I'm going to turn kangatarian, Sam.
What does that actually mean?
It means you are vegetarian, except that you'll eat kangaroo because it's ethical.
And, like, look, I can get the logic behind that, but I also just love that there's a term for it. See, most of the others are small phrases. So things like the debt ceiling.
Yeah, the debt ceiling, the gig economy, fiscal cliffs. We know all about them now.
Coward's punch.
Doona Day. A Doona Day was only just added. Can you believe it?
I kind of can, because I think the fact that phrases have a very specific meaning is kind of new. You know, they used to be colloquialisms, but they had 2 meanings, but now those 2 words have to be linked.
Yeah, so like tree changer. I don't really know what this one is though. We need to do some research on this. The sandwich generation. What's the sandwich generation?
I don't know. And if any of our listeners know, you could let us know by contacting us on social media because, yeah, we're clueless.
Let's find out during the break. You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
I can be your love. Pull you up the dark. Come a little closer.
Empty Closet Radio, facebook.com/Empty Closet Radio.
101.9 Coast FM, you're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Sam, I found out what the sandwich generation means.
Hooray! Please explain.
Okay, so it's like these, oh no, we're going to be talking about Pauline later on. No. So it's the generation of people who are sandwiched between their children and their parents. So it's like if you're caring for your elderly parents and caring for your young children, then you are part of the sandwich generation. In fact, you are the meat in the sandwich generation.
It sounds a lot tastier than it probably is.
I imagine it to be like the worst thing ever. I'm really glad that I live like thousands of kilometers away from my parents. Anyway, moving right along to not quite such a laughing matter. Now, there's this little survey happening at the moment being conducted by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. And the interesting thing about this survey, which we've actually referred to as a survey and a vote and all kinds of different words, the reality is it's actually just an opinion survey. But it is important that everybody gets their opinion back to the Australian Bureau of Statistics in a timely manner so that they can be counted and so that the results of the survey are reflective of what all Australians want, not just what old people who have lots of time to go to the post box and post their survey back want. So in the lead up to the closing time for the survey, because the voting window is actually closing, it's fast approaching, and half of me goes, thank goodness for that. And the other half of me says, well, this is the time when we have to keep encouraging people to send their survey back.
Yeah, it's like we didn't want to be involved with this, but because we have to be, now we have to care about, constantly pushing this, which is, I find quite frustrating. I wish it was already over. It feels like it's never going to end. How do people do elections in the States when it seems to take like 9 months? How do people do that?
I don't know. I think I would just tune out. I actually would. I'd totally tune out. The reality is that this vote, the voting window for this vote, is longer than the campaign period we've had for some elections. Like, it's ridiculous.
For most elections. Most of our elections are done in like a month to 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's like they've called an election and then we have a month full of like rubbish advertising and then we're like, back to normal now. Thank goodness. Either way, whichever party wins, we've elected a monkey, right? It's true. It's true. You laugh, but unfortunately, it's very true. So, at the latest data, which was compiled on Friday the 13th, hopefully that's not too ominous, almost 11 million Australians have returned their survey forms.
Now, just to remind you, there are 16 million, roughly, enrolled voters. So that means that there's still 5 million people who can vote. And there's also...
If you're part of the lucky 1 in 5 million, please dig that survey out from your recycle bin, fill it out, and send it back.
Now, if you haven't received your form yet, you can request a new form, or if your form's been vandalized or something like that and you've noticed it, you can request a new form.
There is a cut-off date though, Sam. So the cut-off date for the form is you have until 6 p.m. this Friday. So that's 6 o'clock in the evening this Friday, October 20th, to be able to request a replacement form, which you can do at the ABS website.
Now, just so you know, if you request a replacement form, the barcode associated with the form that was previously sent to you will be rendered invalid. So if you've sent a response back and you're like, oh my God, I so have to send like 6 more responses, it's not going to add 6 more responses. It's going to cancel out as you request a new form each time.
But say, for example, if your form never arrived, like potentially this might have happened. Maybe they delivered it to your house. Somebody saw that it was sitting there poking out of the letterbox and has pilfered it, ripped it in half. I don't know, done whatever. Or they might have actually opened it, filled it out and sent it back on your behalf, which is like highly illegal, but I'm sure has actually happened. Then you can win, you can beat them, you can have your say if you just go to marriagesurvey.abs.gov.au. So that's marriagesurvey.abs.gov.au. You can request a replacement form. And what that does is it invalidates the form that Joe Blow might have filled in for you, and you get a new one to be able to send it back and have your say.
Now, if you are listening from a rural or remote area, perhaps you are living in a community which doesn't really have the post, or if you are an Australian who lives overseas, it doesn't matter. If you are enrolled to vote as an Australian, you have the right to the survey. So on the Marriage Survey website, there are links up there to explain to you how to vote if you, say, live in England and you happen to be listening to The Empty Closet or whatever.
I love that, like, remote Australians, the ABS has like cottoned on to the fact that you may not have a post office within reach, but hey, you probably have Wi-Fi, so you can do it online.
Yeah, and look, you know, it's about frickin' time that they manage that. You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
If we blink for a minute, let it go. Was it ever really something?
Empty Closet Radio, because no one wants to be stuck in the closet.
Is nothing real tonight? If nothing feels right.
101.9 Coast FM, you're in The Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. Now, Sam, I don't normally sit down and listen to Question Time in the Senate. Have you ever actually, like, watched it? Because you can watch it on TV.
I actually went to the Victorian Parliament when they were in session, just randomly because I was in Melbourne and my friend took me. Hi, Ashley.
And because the Victorian Parliament is like all great democracies with 2 houses of governance.
Well, I was going to say because it's a very pretty building, but yeah, sure. 2 houses of governance. That's what I took home from that.
Yeah, well, okay. I hope you enjoyed the gold leaf on the walls that I'm sure that they acquired during the gold rush when Melbourne was, what was it, the richest, most wealthy city in the world. I believe they had that title for quite some time.
I believe they did too, you know, but I'm not actually convinced that all the shining goodness was, you know, labourers paid super fairly for their work and people getting honest prices.
Did you know that from the front steps of Parliament, you can, like, literally stand there and look over to the building that was, like, the busiest whorehouse in Melbourne?
I am not surprised at all, and I'm actually really happy to learn that.
I think this is why Melbourne has such a weird kind of hodgepodge melting pot kind of culture. Anyway, that is totally not what we're talking about. So something really interesting happened in the federal Senate. One of your favourite people, Sam, Pauline Hanson, she asked about why is it that the Australian Defence Force has spent $1 million on reassignment surgery for people who are serving in the Defence Force.
Now, I'd just like to take this point to remind Pauline Hanson, who is actively encouraging people to vote no, that $122 million was wasted on a postal non-binding, non-compulsory survey. But yeah, sure, $1 million on gender reassignment surgery. What a terrible, terrible cost for us to bear the brunt of.
Sam, they are just numbers. They are just numbers. Quite frankly, I'm surprised that she could get a word out from underneath her burqa that she wore as a joke. Clearly, she's an upstanding woman. Anyway, so basically the response to this question I was really proud of. So Senator Payne, she stood up and she said, actually, gender reassignment surgery is provided exactly as if any other treatment was provided to people. So say, for example, if you work for the ADF and you get a broken bone, they pay for you to have a cast put on your arm. Fair enough. No one's questioning that, right? If you get shot by bullets, they will patch you up.
Now, something, I don't know if this came up in the Senate, but something I just want to bring up because it's something that bothers me whenever we talk about healthcare in the military. Regardless of the issues of the military as an institution, and regardless of the issues with the mindset that the military sometimes encourages in its members, particularly the full-time military, people are actually expected to give up some of their human rights, some of their freedoms to serve in the military because they don't have a choice necessarily where they go to live and what they're going to do, you know, if they're going to stay in that role. So they give up a lot. And the upside to that, the benefit to that is that they have comprehensive health coverage, for instance, amongst other things. So if they get ill and it's not related to their work, it doesn't matter. It's still covered under the healthcare because they've given up rights to the country. The country can goddamn pay because they've got pneumonia, you know, or whatever.
I'm taking the microphone back from you now, Sam. You're very ranty.
No, I don't mean to be ranty, but gender reassignment surgery has been shown time and time again to improve the mental health and quality of life of people who need it.
Well, and you know what? You'd be really proud because that's exactly what Senator Payne said. She said, quote, gender dysphoria is managed in accordance with best practice clinical guidelines under the same principles as any other health condition, end quote. What an awesome win. Like, that's awesome. And I don't quite know. I don't know whether Pauline Hanson was able to, like, respond to that. I don't think that she would, but...
You know, I'm I'm not surprised at all that she decided to go the transphobic route because, you know, probably, and I don't agree with the complaint, but, you know, maybe she would have had more backbone if she was looking at elective surgeries like, I don't know, breast augmentation, you know, in cisgendered female officers or whatever. I personally don't have any problem. I think that the military should be paying those things. There's good reasons for those things. And we don't have the right to investigate why somebody wants a healthcare procedure done. But, you know, it is a very specific attack by Pauline Hanson, you know, under the guise of concern for public cost.
She's not concerned about public cost. She's concerned with lining her own pockets, I believe.
And motivating her fan base, her political base, who basically are united in fear and hatred, it kind of seems. It doesn't seem like she's really standing up for a lot of positives. Anyway, you're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
Lost my way, trying to head back home, trying to find the keys to my soul.
Empty Closet Radio, 9 p.m. Tuesdays, 101.9 Coast FM.
You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam. And what do we have coming up this week, Andrew?
Oh my God, Sam. So you know how, like, normally you, on the social media networks, you get, like, invited to all kinds of random stuff, and sometimes you're like, I don't really know whether that's appropriate for me or not. Right, so this week I got invited to a singles meetup. And I'm like, well, I'm single. Maybe I should go along. And I opened it up and, like, the singles meetup is, like, clearly, it's very much aimed at, like, women. Looking at the artwork, it's, like, got flowers and everything. And I'm like, I don't know whether this is my kind of singles meetup. Do they know that I'm gay?
I don't know. I don't know if this is the case, but what I always take away from things like that is that they're trying to show that it will be a positive and inclusive space is what I usually take from imaging like that. Because when it's, you know, hot singles Roxor XXX and there's, like, you know, bikini babes, I don't really think people are going there for scintillating conversation and respect for other people.
Do you think I could go? I don't think that it's like, what would I do? Sit on the girls' side of the table and meet all the boys who are there to meet girls, so they're not going to be interested in talking to me?
Is it a speed dating event, or is it just like you go and you have drinks and you talk to people?
I don't know. It says, come along and meet single people. And I'm looking at the people who are going, and, like, one of them is this straight boy that I met at one of the bars in town, who then added me onto Facebook. And he's gorgeous. I'd love to, like, spend more time speaking with him. However, I really don't think that he's not really an option for me, if you know what I mean.
But you could just go and use it as a networking event. You don't have to use it to try and get into somebody's pants. It doesn't specify that this is a hookup event.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I should go. I love how, like, I've just jumped to that. I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't.
Jesus, Sam, why? Why aren't they?
So if you're interested in going, it's happening on Thursday the 19th anyway. Starts at 5:30. It's at North Bar. See how you go. Maybe you'll meet the love of your life there.
Maybe you'll meet Andrew.
Maybe you'll meet me. Oh my God, I keep inviting people who listen to the show. To come to stuff and, like, say hi. No one has ever said hello to me after listening to the podcast.
We've had lots of people say hi. You lie, but they kind of already know us. We haven't had somebody come up. Keep in mind, Andrew, it is a radio show and people may not know what you look like.
I'm sorry, I'm speechless. Someone lives in Cairns and doesn't know who I am. Jokes.
Now, on another note, there's a bake sale.
Yes, a bake sale is coming up. So the JCU Pride Alliance are having a bake sale. It says here, location to be advised, which is really, really annoying because I'm trying to get people to go along. It'll be somewhere on campus, I'm sure. And it's just like, bake sale, raise money for stuff. I presume that the money will go towards helping run the Pride Alliance at JCU. And any little projects that they're involved with. And also it might just be like really good opportunity to go and network with those guys, I remember when I was involved with the Queer Society at my university. Oh my God, it was so much fun. I made so many friends through that. It was amazing. Such a good thing to get involved with.
So that's on Monday, October 23rd. It starts at around midday. And, while we don't know the location yet, it will almost certainly be on the JCU campus at Smithfield. I don't think it would be at their city campus.
I don't think the city campus has enough room for a bake sale table. It's tiny.
I don't know. They could put it out the front and get all the passers-by.
If you know more about it, well, when we know more, we're going to put some on our social media, so make sure you keep a close eye on that. You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
I've been thinking we haven't been to the places that we wanna try.
Empty Closet Radio. Follow us on Twitter.
Now, Sam, that's all we have time for. Make sure you do check out our socials so that you can see all of the fun articles that we were talking about. And see a bit more information. There's a link there to the article about how does straight sex work, and we're also going to put up the link to the marriage equality survey reorder form.
Yeah, and remember, if you have any difficulties, there's a bunch of others that I forgot to list. If you are homeless, if you have difficulties with English, if you have a disability that means that maybe filling in a paper form may not be an option for you, then go to that website and we will put that up on our page. Now you can, if you do need to find our website, you just go onto the big blue book of faces and you look for Empty Closet Radio and you hit the like button. You can also follow us on the blue Tweety Bird. We're at emptycloset_AU, all lowercase. And of course, because we have such dulcet tones, do be sure to check out the podcast.
Dulcet. Are you talking about yours or mine? Because mine is more like the screeching section of the wavelength.
But just look for Empty Closet Radio on your favourite podcasting app and you can listen to Andrew screech if that's what you're into. You're on 101.9 Coast FM. You're in the Empty Closet with Andrew and Sam.
Can find the light in the middle of the night. Can feel my feet when the river runs deep. I close my eyes.
Thanks for listening to The Empty Closet, brought to you by 1019 Coast FM Cairns.